All right, welcome back to another edition of our 31 Nights of Horror. And this time we're going to be talking about Misery. That's right, Misery. This movie came out like in the early 90s, like about 1990 or 91. And this was my first time watching this movie in its entirety. Yeah, I know, I'm way behind, right? I always seen clips in different parts of the movie. I mean, I've seen the beginning of the movie, and there's times where I watched, turned, flipping the channel, and I've caught the middle of the movie. I didn't catch the full ending, but I seen scenes that are close to the ending. But this was my first time watching it from beginning till end, and after watching it, I'm like, damn, why did it take me so long to ever want to watch this movie? I guess because like whenever I saw the trailer and previews and clips of this movie, I'm like, well, this doesn't really come off as a horror movie to me, you know? And I'm like, I would get mad when people be like, "Oh man, it's a thriller. It's scary and all this stuff," you know. And I'm like, "Well, okay, what's so scary?" I'm like, "Okay, so she's mean. She's a nurse who's mean with her patient and stuff." And boy, did I have it all totally wrong. Like, yeah, she was mean, but she was like on a whole nother level. I mean, initially, I thought this movie was where I knew that James Caan's character, I knew that he was a book author, Paul, and I thought that he was already paralyzed from the jump, and she was his nurse who was hired to take care of him. All right, and she was an obsessed fan. Well, I got part of it right and most of it wrong. So he was walking. You know, he had his legs before in this movie, and then he got into an accident. She pulled him out, and she brought him to his home. She didn't. She wasn't an assigned nurse to him or anything like that. All right, so that's why I was like, oh, so I had this movie all wrong. But yeah, what makes this movie scary is that I mean, think about it. You're tied up to this bed. You can't move. You got somebody who's supposed to be taking care of you because apparently they love you and they're a big fan of yours. And they're straight up torturing you. They're torturing you. Mentally, physically, spiritually, verbally, all of that. They're torturing you. That's horror. That's horror. I didn't really get that aspect of that back in the days when I was younger, but after watching it as I'm older, I'm like, man, wow. And to think about it, his loved ones had no idea where he was at. He had a daughter. I didn't mention about him being married. But it was, and I'm like, okay, I can rock with this. I can rock with this. But now I didn't know that Kathy Bates had got an Oscar for this role. I didn't know that. I didn't think it was possible to get an Oscar for a horror film. Like, I don't know if she's the first to get an Oscar in a horror film. I don't know, but that shocked me. But she did a brilliant job, man. She, what's wild? After watching the movie, uh, I saw a clip where she was on. Was it Jay Leno? Was it Colin O'Brien? One of the late night talk shows, and she said that when her mom saw the movie, her mom didn't understand what the big fuss was about because it's like you're not acting. It looks like you're just acting like yourself. Her own mother said it looks like she was acting like herself when she was playing the role of Annie. That's scary. Like we hear actors and actresses talk about, they bring, but of course you're going to bring a part of yourself into a role. But it's like, well, dang, wow, I would never want to be on the bad side of her, man. Like, good God, good God. But in a way, she had a lot of Mama Boucher mannerisms. Think about it. Wanted to keep Bobby away from everything. Was making up stories and all of this just to keep him scared and away from everybody and trying to keep him isolated. So damn, I wonder if they the same people. Maybe she never did die. Good God. Well, damn, if that's the case, where was Bobby Boucher at? But, huh. Wow, that. See, now I'm going on the deep end. Now I'm trying to find it. Now I'm thinking about a connection between Bobby Boucher, between the Water Boy, and Misery. Was that her twin sister? I don't know. But anyways, this movie here, man, the scene where she put the block in between James Caan's legs. Then she took that hammer and then bam. Oh man, that on his feet. Oh my goodness. I'm like, oh God. Good God, man. Oh man, that like what she was doing, that was wild. But he did fight back at the end. I appreciate that. Shout out to the sheriff in this movie, man, because that dude there, I told my wife, I'm like, I love what he said when he didn't know exactly what happened, but when the police mentioned that how James Caan character allegedly had died, and the sheriff response to his wife, he was like, I'm not. Well, she had asked him. She said, "So you don't believe him? You seem like you don't believe what the police people just said." And he said, "Well, I'm not saying he's still alive, but I don't think he died the way they say he died." And this man here, he's not a person who reads all these novels. He went and bought all these new novels and read them just so he could try to understand him, you know. And he ended up putting clues together and pieces together, and he ended up finding them. And then she ended up finding him and killing him. I'm sorry for the spoilers, people. I mean, but this movie came out over 30 years ago. I know, I just watched it in its entirety, but golly, I don't expect you to be like me. But man, he did such a brilliant job, man. But yeah, I like this movie. I like this movie, man. And watching it, it's just something about like movies that are based off of a Stephen King book. Even I used to think Stephen King was writing and directing these movies, but as directors and writers, they doing their own adaptation of Stephen King's writings, his books, and it's like, okay, I see the Stephen King vibe because I'm a Stephen King fan, but it's like growing up watching It, Silver Bullet, you know, what's the other one? Graveyard Shift, all of those type of movies, and A Pet Cemetery. And this movie here, I'm like, there's no supernatural or anything in this, but there was a scene where, let me see, where James Caan character he hit Annie over the head with a typewriter, and I'm like, okay, she gonna be knocked out for a little bit. Her ass bounced up like nothing. So I think she did might have had some type of supernatural things to her. Because he was like, when he was punching her, I'm like, she should have been laid out. But that lady was tough as hell, man. Tough as hell. I mean, I understand his feet and all his legs wasn't working, but those hands, he put them hands on him. Those hands was working. So, but real good movie. I highly recommend this. Check out Misery. And don't be like me. Don't wait over 30 years until you watch this movie in its entirety. Okay, when you watch it, go ahead and watch it from beginning to end. Trust me, you'll thank me for it later. Thank y'all for tuning in. Student of the Game Podcast. Peace out.